Hey, Myles here at Tactical Hyve, and it is another week where we're going to be covering dry fire and live fire, and we're going to still focus on the grip, but now we're segueing into a little bit of trigger control and primarily the topic of how to shoot faster, but based on your grip tension, because that's what we've been talking about, or I should say grip pressure. So if you're interested in learning about what type of grip pressure you should apply so that you can shoot faster, stay tuned. All right, welcome back. Before I start this dry fire session or the segment for today's video, I do highly recommend the dry fire mag for this because it's all about grip pressure and the proper amount of grip pressure so that you can articulate this trigger quickly. And if you don't have a dry fire mag or anything similar like this, then you won't be able to get that immediate feedback. That said, we already have talked about applying grip pressure. How much grip pressure should your left hand apply? How much grip pressure should your right hand apply? Where that pressure is going. Keep in mind though, we're just covering some of the more common ways out there. There could be lots of different ways, and ultimately you're going to find the style, your own technique that is going to fulfill the principles that we've discussed. But there's something about grip pressure that we haven't talked about. We just kind of glanced over a little bit. If you remember in one of the previous videos, I talked about you do want to grip this gun as hard as possible with both hands and then let off if the sights are being disturbed, okay, so that the sights are not shaky. But I also talked about your firing hand. If you're squeezing so hard that you can't really move this trigger finger well, then you want to back off a little bit. We're going to hone in on that specific point because you want to just grip the gun with enough pressure so that it doesn't move within your hands. I'll dive into that a little bit more. And you should be able to articulate this trigger very, very, very fast. Okay. Now, if you squeeze hard and you can't really articulate your trigger finger because you're squeezing hard, so you let up a little bit and now it moves quickly, that may not be as quick as you possibly can move your trigger finger. So that's what we're going to find. So with the dry fire mag, it is going to be something that is hard to replicate because we need to find the grip pressure that we need to control this gun using live ammo. So what's going to happen here is I want to start off with a dry fire session, but we're going to fast forward to the live fire session, and then you're going to understand what that feeling is of live fire. Then you're going to go back to dry fire. Then every time you dry fire, you're going to remember that sensation, remember the amount of grip pressure on your firing hand, and that's what you're going to use. Once again, though, I'm starting off with this because what we're going to do is once you find that proper pressure of your firing hand, all of your drills moving forward from this day on, you're going to memorize that grip pressure, and you want to use the same grip pressure throughout in all of your dry fire exercises. But we need to do live fire to understand what that grip pressure is. As I alluded to earlier, this is not the same. What we're covering today is not exactly the same as what I already covered before. What I covered before was just kind of a bird's eye view. Now we're diving into some of the details. This will make a little bit more sense as I explain the live fire exercise. All right, so I've loaded some rounds here and we are going to go live fire. To start off, there is really no target array. There is no set drill. We are isolating what's going to be happening here with the firing hand. Remember, your support hand, you're just going to be crushing down on that gun, that frame, right? You don't want the gun to move within your hands with your support hand. And if you watched previous videos, I talked about the same thing with our firing hand. We do not want this gun moving within our hand, right? If my hand is here, okay, this gun should not move while my hand stays here. It all should be one unit. If the gun goes boom and the gun moves up, my hand should move up. So I need enough pressure to do just that. But we only want just enough pressure to do that. Let's just put some arbitrary numbers here, okay? 100%, I'm gripping really hard as I can. And let's pretend that all it takes is about 30% of my grip pressure to keep this gun from moving within my hand. Let's just pretend, okay? If you have 30%, that's all you need. But if I go to 90%, okay, one, I'm increasing tension, and I don't really need that tension if I only need about 30% energy or power with my hand, grip strength, okay? So if I'm using 90%, there's a chance that I won't be able to articulate this trigger as fast as I possibly can. This is why we're trying to find that zone. What does right feel like for you? I can't tell you exactly what that percentage is, okay? So this is why we're doing this exercise. And once you find that certain percentage where the gun does not move in your hand, you need to chase for that feeling every time you shoot moving forward, okay? From this day on, you're going to remember that feeling, use that. That is going to give you the best chance to move your trigger finger as fast as possible. Okay, so this is how we're going to do it live fire, and you can shoot into a berm. You're not shooting a target here. So let's do this. Okay, I'm going to rack it here, and I'm just going to do this one hand so you can see everything here. Okay, focus over here. I'm going to grip this at 100%. When I shoot, you're going to see the gun does not move with my hand because I'm gripping really hard. Okay, so take a look. Hit this here. It stays right there. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to decrease my pressure by dramatically. I'm going to go down to what is about 30% in my head, okay? I'm making these arbitrary, these numbers arbitrarily up, but now I'm going to loosen up. Now I want you to see something. When I shoot this gun, you will see it's going to jump within my hand. Okay? Actually, you couldn't see that side, but on the right side here, my fingers disconnected from the gun. Okay, so I'll try to do this here so you can actually see it here flipping. So I'm holding really light. There we go again. So you can see, guys, look at this. There's that space. So what that means is the gun is jumping in my hand. It is not all one unit. Compare it to 100%. Look at this, 100% here. It does not jump. I'm going to do that one again where it's nice and light at about 30%. It is jumping, okay? It's so light that it caused a malfunction here. A stovepipe, okay? Now, if you notice that at 30%, the gun is jumping with your hand and you're not remaining or keeping or maintaining contact, now we're going to increase it now. Maybe I'll go to 50% of my grip pressure. And I'm gonna do this here, 50%. That feels good. It didn't jump in my hands. I feel good control. Okay, so that's good. So what does that tell me here? That tells me that I only need about 50% to fully control this gun, 50% grip pressure. If you want to be very detailed or very specific, if I started with 30 and I went up to 50 and 50 I control it, now I might go down to 40%, okay? Whatever that is in your mind, it's arbitrary. Now I'm going to go down to 40%. I'm decreasing my grip pressure a little bit. And that worked too, although it caused a stovepipe with this particular gun. And sometimes guns will do that if you don't have the proper grip pressure, things like that. But that tells me at 40%, this gun is not jumping within my hand. So you need to remember that feeling now, okay? Remember that, and you're going to do that same grip pressure, 40%, throughout your shooting. Live fire, absolutely, but now you have to copy that and bring it to dry fire. This is so important because if all we need is 40% pressure, that's all we need, and that is going to alleviate any chance of us having trigger freeze or not being able to manipulate this trigger quickly. If I have 40%, I know that's the minimum, and this is going to give me the most optimal trigger speed or the dexterity in my trigger finger. If I go up to 60%, 70%, 80%, you'll be able to shoot the gun well because the gun is not going to move within your firing hand, but now you may be slowing down the speed of your trigger finger. So this is why we're starting with live fire here. And now every time you do live fire, the whole idea is two hands together, right hand together. All you're gonna remember is that 40% on the firing hand. This hand is gonna be crushing down, of course. Okay? Now we're gonna go back to live fire, and I'm gonna explain what to do with the dry fire mag or if you're completely dry. Now that you know the sensation of how much grip pressure you need with your firing hand, you're going to mimic it every single time you do dry fire. This is getting a little advanced. It's still a baby step from the previous weeks, but now we're getting into the weeds of what, let's say, professional shooters understand, know, and practice. This is how you are going to shoot the fastest you possibly can. So now I know, and I'm using that number we established, we're pretending it's 40%, right? So now I know that for me, every time I dry fire, this should have 40%, no more. Because if you're doing more, it's kind of like a minimal viable dose when you take medicine. If taking 500 milligrams of Tylenol will take a headache away, taking 1,000 1500 or 2000 are not going to, it's not going to do anything else. You're not at an advantage. All you need is that 500 milligrams. So here we already know all we need is 40%. And the trade-off is here, or the benefit is, if we just do 40%, then again, we can move this trigger finger as fast as we possibly can. So now every time you do your dry fire exercises, you are going to be cognizant and you're going to be aware of whether or not you're maintaining 40%. That's it. You can do any dry fire exercise you want, from the draw, moving and shooting, transitions, but every time stop yourself and ask, do I have 40% grip pressure? If the answer is yes, great rep. This is what we're focusing on now for this week. Grip pressure, firing on grip pressure, only 40%. Then after you do that dry fire, we already talked about live fire, but now that live fire was just to demonstrate how we establish that grip pressure. Now for your live fire sessions, everything's the same, but now every time you do whatever exercise, drill you want to, or course of fire, just stop yourself at the end and kind of think, did I have that 40% pressure in the beginning, in the middle, and the end? And that's really it. This is what proper training is all about. Taking specific skill sets, specific points, and improving. If you pile on so much, you're going to be overwhelmed and you may not make any progress. All we're doing right now is learning that proper fire and grip pressure so we can shoot faster. So I hope you guys like this week's dry fire and live fire session. It really will help you shoot faster. It'll help you maintain proper grip pressure, as well as even alleviate you from getting so fatigued, because you're not going to be gripping as hard or harder than you actually need to. If you haven't tried this out, give it a try. It will absolutely help. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As always, if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. See you guys next week.